Okay, so
Yeah?
for those of you guys wondering, we are recording this on another phone as well, so that we can save it and post it later, so that everyone can see and be involved.
Okay, so you want to start?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So, my name's Hadassah, again. Basically, we decided to do this because a few weeks ago, Elizabeth Sogatsky started a campaign called Real Love, Real Loss, and she... And basically, I was afraid to post my story because, you know, it's scary to get it all out there. And a bunch of my friends messaged me saying, you know, your story is probably one of the most difficult things they've ever heard, probably one of the worst stories out there. And they said that I could hopefully help others and gain chizuk. And so here we are. I'll start after she introduces herself.
My name is Yael Toledo. I'm a marriage and family therapist. And one of the specialties or one of the areas that I work the most in my practice is working with couples going through infertility challenges. And what I do in my practice is help them cope with the emotional roller coaster of going through any range of infertility, from the beginning of trying and not being able to conceive, or IUI, IVF, all of that, all of those challenges emotionally that you experience as a couple when you're really can make your dream come true of being able to be parents, which is something that's so important for us, especially in our communities. And it's so devastating when you can't really fulfill that dream. So my job is to be able to guide you, to hold your hands and help you cope with all of those challenges that come with it.
So anyway,
so why don't you start by telling everybody, like, besides that campaign and besides the fact that that amazing campaign gave you the courage to share your story, why did you want to do this Facebook Live today?
You know, after I posted that, I got so many people reaching out, asking me questions, telling me how my story helped them. And I decided, you know, let's go live. My therapist is amazing. She's helped me so much. I'm saying I've been with her for less than a year and it's been incredible. So we figured that it would be great to share, you know, the emotional side, and she could share the psychological side. But anyway, for those of you that don't know my story, I got married 4 years ago, and it took about a year and a half for me to realize that I could not get pregnant. And finally went to doctors and whatever, back and forth. We found out that it was male factor infertility. And, you know, that still means that I have to do majority of the treatments. But anyway, we did IVF, and I got pregnant right away on my first try. And it was like the most exciting thing in the world. I made it to, I think it was about 34 weeks pregnant, and we lost the baby then. And obviously that was crazy and horrible, and I don't even know how to describe it. But after that, I met with Yael, and she helped me, you know, pick myself up, start doing IVF again. And I did it 3 times. So
can I stop you? I'm so sorry.
You can stop me.
So why don't we walk through the process of that first year and a half when you were trying to get pregnant, and the pressures of when are you giving birth, when are you having a baby, when are you having a baby, we want to see you grow your family, when are you having a baby? And was that ever an issue or a challenge for you and your husband? Like feeling that pressure, that first year and a half?
It was a crazy challenge. I didn't even know that we were infertile. And it was just every month, you know, I'd get my period and be like, again? Are you kidding me? Like, again? And, you know, it just wasn't happening. But also, it was my first year of marriage. I wasn't really in such a rush. But yeah, once I went to the doctor and found out it was a problem, I think that's when it started to really hit me that it was, you know.
What was the biggest challenge when you realized that? Do you remember a little bit of that?
I think that no matter what they told me and no matter how many treatments they said were possible and how many options we had, I still felt hopeless. I still felt nothing was going to work.
It's like you lose hope and trust.
Yeah, completely.
Did that affect some sort of, like, in within your marriage? Like, was it hard to talk about that topic? How was it hard to realize that you needed to do more than just, you know, be together?
Yeah, so the second I realized that, you know, it was male factor, I automatically put it on us. It wasn't him, it was us. Because no matter what, whether it was him, whether it was me, we still would have had to go through this, no matter what.
So that's a very important point, because many times when I work with couples, there are a few components that I see a lot. One of them is loneliness. The second one is lack of having the ability to say what you really want to say because you're so afraid and ashamed. And the third one also is a lot of blame. It's because of you, it's because of me, and that blame comes from fear and from not knowing, and hormones as well.
Hormones make us crazy.
And actually that blaming can even start before you even start any type of treatments, because then you're so worried about why can't you have babies, what's going on within our bodies, and when you're so desperate and so alone and so crazy, you look to blame your partner, or your partner looks to blame you, and that's a very challenging part for both the couple.
Yeah.
So you move forward. Then what else happened after that year and a half? Doctor says, you need to move, you need to try other things.
So we did an IUI. I think that we should talk about what the difference is
100%,
between
go
IUI
ahead.
and IVF. Basically, an IUI just means that they take the male sperm and they put it inside the vagina, and somehow you're supposed to get pregnant. And they basically time that and make it work out perfectly so that it, it's the right time of the month and this and that. I feel like I'm not speaking English.
Hey, don't worry about my accent here also, so don't worry about it. As long as we portray the message that it's okay not to be okay, and that it's okay to ask for help, you can get confused.
Okay. So that was, honestly, for me, that wasn't so difficult. It was very minor. It was like a 5-second procedure where they just insert it, and it's not a big deal. After that failed, and we started IVF in Florida. We were doing IUI in New York, so it was a little bit complex. Like, I was flying in and out for appointments. But anyway, IVF is a lot more invasive, and the way it works is that you go for your first ultrasound, and they have to make sure that you have no cysts or anything blocking the way for them to put an embryo back in. But let me explain. So the way IVF works is they have to inject you with a lot of medication in order to get your eggs to grow, in order for you to get more eggs than usual. Normally 1 egg matures every month, and when you do IVF, they try to get you to have like 15 to 20 eggs mature. So basically that is the process. That's why you're on so many hormones, and those hormones are like, ooh.
What if we do the timeline?
The timeline?
Okay. Do you want to do it on a piece of paper, or you want to do it on the board? Let's do it on a piece of paper? Okay.
Yeah.
So let's use this marker, which I think will help us a little bit better.
This is her favorite thing to do.
Yeah. So you know that I draw as I speak, and I want to share a little story. Growing up, I'm from Colombia, and it's my beautiful accent. It's just never gonna go away. And growing up, they would tell me in school that I had a learning disability. Like I would never pass any math test. It was very bad. But when I started college and my master's degree, I realized that I don't have a disability. I have a gift. And my gift is that I need to draw while I speak. And that's the only way that I can explain my concepts and understand what I'm learning and retain information, whatever, aside of whatever we're doing. Hopefully all of you can see us. So what we're gonna do here, let me just turn this aside 1 second. I can go like this with you, sorry. Okay, so I'm gonna go like this. If you don't see it, please let me know, okay? So we wanna walk you through the process of more or less what an IVF cycle is. Now, it's important. Every case is very different. Everybody's very different. So you might go more days, less days. Your transfer days or your retrieval days might change, may vary. Your medication might change. So we're gonna walk you through Hadassah's process and more or less what comes with what is the emotional component or roller coaster that comes with each and one of those steps. Okay. So you walk me through it. Day 1.
Okay, day 1, you meet with the doctor. They do an ultrasound. They make sure everything's good. Then they send you the list of medications that you're about to go on, which is 3 injections and a few pills. So, some of the injections are like, the needles are this small, some of them are like this big.
Where do you inject those needles?
So the small ones I inject in my stomach, and then the big ones, which is later on in the cycle, you inject in basically your butt.
remind them how sometimes you would come to therapy, which you had as a comes every week, and you couldn't see it.
I couldn't
It
say,
was
oh my gosh.
painful, exactly, and that's important for
gosh.
people to know that they need to have some sort of compassion.
Yes, there's
Or-
black and
yeah.
blue marks everywhere. I would actually have my husband Shimmy give me the shots in the butt. So, as
Which he
gentle
was
as
scared
he'd like
as well.
to be. Yeah,
Yeah.
he was petrified. Oh my gosh. There's so many funny stories about that, actually. Like
Can you share one?
We were at my nephew's bar mitzvah, and it has to be at the exact time. I don't know, it has to be perfect. And we had to run out. I'm dressed in my clothes, and we have to prep the needle. It's a whole process. We're in the back seat of my car, and it was just, oh my god, it was crazy. I did in an airport bathroom. There's so many stories. If anyone has any crazy stories, please write them.
Yes. And if you have any questions while we're speaking, please send us your questions or emojis or hearts like everybody's sending, which we love. Thank you so much for the support. Because before we continue and we move forward,
Thanks.
I want to tell you that this is the first time I do this, but this is the first time that one of my clients shares their story and shares that going to therapy and going through all these challenges with help has made it a little bit better. And this is so powerful. I'm so grateful and thankful for you. You have no idea. So let's continue. So that was day 1, medications and shots for how many days?
It's about 2 weeks, and you go into
Okay.
the doctor basically every other day to for monitoring, which is blood work. They do blood work and an ultrasound.
What happens after 2 weeks?
So after 2 weeks, they tell you that they can trigger you, which is they give you a trigger shot, which means that also has to be done at a perfect time. I think it's 8 hours before the retrieval. So the egg retrieval is 2 weeks in. Did we write that? No.
Yeah, 2 weeks in, and then egg retrieval. Sorry, we don't have more
There's not much space.
Egg
We're
retrieval.
gonna have to use another page.
Yeah, we're gonna have to use another page.
So the egg retrieval is basically it's an outpatient procedure, but it's in the hospital, and they do put you to sleep. So it's basically a surgery, and they go inside and remove your eggs. That's the retrieval.
I always get a lot of questions about what to expect on those days. So let's say retrieval day is a day where you walk in and you have to change on a rope, and then it's a little bit cold, so bring socks because it's very, very cold. And since you're so emotional and sometimes you are afraid because you don't know what to expect, your body reacts by shivering a lot. So bring things that will give you comfort. And I always say that.
Your family does not come with you into the room. No, it's kind of like they tell you, here is a gown, put it on, and just come in. So it's bye everybody. We're gonna go get pregnant by myself.
So that means that okay, that's it's so the process
they
is so
strip you
cold.
of your dignity. It's really
it is hard.
They don't mean to do it that way, but that's really how it is.
It is.
how it feels.
So you walk in alone, so it's even scarier.
My lady, she had to give me an IV, and she tried here, it didn't work. She tried in my hand, she popped my vein. And I was just like, whatever. This is, this is so bad. The whole situation is just so devastating that at that point, just giving, my vein popping was nothing. It was no big deal.
Nothing. Did you go with your mom, your husband? Who did you go with?
So my mother and my husband were there, and they waited outside.
Which that was huge.
it
Bringing
was
people
huge.
that can support you and hold your hand and be there for you. It's very, very, very
Do
important.
not do this alone. It is also very physically extremely painful. Walking afterwards is very difficult.
And I'm happy you touched upon alone, because I got a lot of questions about loneliness, about how lonely this process is, how much we don't talk about this, how much we are I don't know if the word is ashamed. Why is it that we don't ask for help, that we don't tell people, yes, I need you to come with me, please help me, hold my hand. It's like we're hiding.
Well, that's the hardest thing for me to do. Asking for help is impossible. I hate asking people for help. I see a lot of you liked that. I'm still liking it. It's very hard to ask for help. Nobody wants to feel like they're weak. I think that's what it is. It's just a weak feeling. You don't feel like you're,
And it's so cultural because, the person that is able to ask for help is the brave one. Because asking for help takes so much guts and so much strength that there's no correlation between asking for help and weakness whatsoever. Like, there's no such a thing. And this is like one of our biggest messages. Don't walk this path alone. Don't go through this journey alone. There's no need for you to go through it alone. We're here for you if you want to write to us, if you need help, but there are amazing therapists out there that can help you go through this journey. Please don't do it alone. Okay, so we continue with our timeline.
Yes.
So egg retrieval.
So that day I came home, was, extremely, going to the bathroom. Sorry, TMI, but that is the worst thing ever. Anybody that's been through this knows that it is so scary going to the bathroom afterwards. And it is excruciatingly painful.
Is there anything you can do to make it better?
They say to take a stool softener before.
Okay.
Which the first time I didn't, so it was
so ask your doctors.
Worse than giving birth.
Ask your doctors before you make any decisions whether or not to take a stool or not. But that can be a great question to ask before retrieval day if you are going through this process. Do you have to stay at home right after, or can you just continue your life?
No, you could do whatever you want. You could, but it's so painful that I don't think you should not be going back to work. You should stay in bed for 2 days.
Okay. And then what happens afterwards?
So afterwards, they switch you onto new medication because now you took tons of medication in order to grow your eggs. And right now they need it to stop. They basically need to stop your cycle from working so that they can implant an embryo. An embryo is an egg with sperm, they combine it, and that's the whole IVF. They put the egg into the sperm into the egg, and then they put it back.
When does that happen? When did it happen for you?
So that night they put the sperm into the eggs. I also want to say that night they told me how many eggs I got, and I think that for anybody is so scary. It's like you think you're gonna get 25, and you think you have so many chances. And I think no matter what, everybody's disappointed at the end of the day. And then the next day, they tell you how many embryos that they made. So this is like emotional every day. You're like, did we make any? Did we get any embryos? Were any of them good? So they told me we had, I started with, I don't even remember, 14 eggs. Then it went down to 8 embryos. And then they wait until the embryos grow to what's called a blastocyst. I don't even know how to explain that. So don't ask me.
We're not doctors.
I don't know what that is. So then basically I think less than a quarter of the embryos usually make it to blastocyst. So you should expect that all your numbers should drop drastically. And that's normal. The first time when that happened to me, I was like crying and freaking out. We were left with 3 embryos.
Now, when you went through that, and I don't know if you remember or not, but who did you talk to? Besides coming to me that week. When you were at home.
This was even before.
Even before, okay. Yeah. So, who would you talk to?
My mother, my husband, friends, whoever was around. I tried to find people.
You tried to,
but a lot of times I'd rather be alone and just cry by myself. I don't like to.
And the loneliness grew and grew and grew and grew because
it just gets worse and worse because it's
worse
just
and worse.
Failure after failure after failure.
Did you ever blame yourself, or did you ever blame yourself? So that's a very important one because that blaming game, it's devastating.
Are you referring to during IVF or when I had the stillbirth?
IVF.
No, I never blamed myself for IVF.
Okay. So let's finish our timeline and then we'll move on to your story again.
Okay.
So egg retrieval and then we did the transfer.
Then is the transfer, yes.
Then is the transfer.
So about 2-3 weeks later, well, it depends.
Hold on. But talk to us about transfer day. What happens
transfer
that day?
So transfer day, it's really not a big deal. It's kind of like an IUI. You just go in, they sit you down you lay down on a bed, they lift you up. It's everything's on display. And it's terrible. It's a very uncomfortable feeling. They actually tell you to have a full bladder. So that you're sitting there and you really have to pee, and they're just they're holding you down. They first do an ultrasound, which is an internal ultrasound, and they have a sonogram on top. So they're literally pressing on my bladder, and it was just oh my gosh, terrible. But it's really just 20 minutes. They stick the embryo in, and you're done. And then they put you on bed rest for 2 days.
And then what happens?
And then
it's the 10-day wait.
Yeah. They call it a 2-week wait. My doctor did 9 days.
So let's talk about those 9 days, because I think that, well, most of the couples that come to work with me that are actually going through the IVF procedure, they talk a lot about those 9 or 2 weeks or 10 days, depending on every procedure again. And they say that waiting for that result can be one of the most excruciating feelings ever. Do you remember feeling like that? Or what do you remember from those 10 days?
So I was actually, the day I found out, I was flying to Toronto for a wedding. And my husband wasn't supposed to come with me that day. And I made him change his ticket. I said, you're coming with me this day. He was going to come the following day. I said, you are coming this day. I'm not finding out alone. So he booked a ticket, but he couldn't come onto my flight. So we were both on 2 separate flights. I landed in Toronto. And I remember I knew that the doctor was going to call me any minute. So for like an hour, I was sitting there and like in a state of panic. You know, I'm like, what's going to be? What's going to be? Oh my gosh. You know, I wasn't ready for that crazy letdown because I had to work a wedding the next day. And I wasn't ready for, I mean, I was obviously ready for success. That would have been great. But anyway, I found out that it was negative and it was just terrible. We went for drinks.
It's terrible. It's terrible. Yes, yeah. It's terrible. So now that we know more or less how that cycle works, can we go back to you were trying to your story. So you were trying for a year and a half, then you tried IUI, did not work, then you started IVF. First IVF worked.
Yes,
the first IVF
worked. And I got pregnant and I had a very, very healthy pregnancy.
There was something about that pregnancy that you always shared with me.
I never believed I was having a baby. Like, no matter what, I thought that this wasn't going to happen. I thought it was impossible. And just the whole pregnancy for me, I remember they were going to induce me 2 weeks before I gave birth, and they told me, and I remember thinking, like, it's not possible. It can't be that I'm giving birth in 2 weeks. It doesn't make sense. I'm sure other people experience this too, but for me, I did not connect with the baby at all, which is a horrible thing to say, but it's just the truth. I just couldn't believe it. I was so scared to allow myself to get excited for something that I thought wasn't going to happen. And then, of course, it didn't. Yeah. Should we go into that story? Okay.
Is that something you want to share?
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. We can stop at any moment.
Okay. She's still my therapist.
I'm here to protect you.
So, okay. The day that I found out, basically, I woke up basically my baby was a very active baby and she didn't stop kicking. Until one day, I woke up one morning and I was like, something's wrong. I don't feel a baby moving. My husband brought me some orange juice. I didn't even ask him for it. He just, I don't know. He brought it to me and like she kicked once. And the doctors told me like, you know, there wasn't that much room in there for her to move. So they told me that she might not move so much. So don't worry, just make sure that she moves every 2 hours. So she kicked once and I said, okay, this is fine. It's not a big deal. Anyway, about 6 hours later, I realized that she had not moved once. And, you know, I start drinking grape juice. I'm freaking out. I'm telling my mother, I'm like, Ma, something's wrong. I don't know what's going on. She's not moving. I'm like like hitting my stomach, like pushing.
Please don't stop the baby.
Move. I'm like, just move. And then, you know, we called up the doctor. The doctor said, just come in. So hopefully it's not a big deal, but just come in. We went in and, you know, I'm sitting there. They started putting me on an IV. They're doing a bunch of ultrasonograms and the nurse looks at me and I was like, what's taking so long? They're not finding her heartbeat. What's taking so long? She says, I only hear one heartbeat. It's probably not a big deal. Maybe it's just the wrong spot. So I said, okay, you know, in my head, I was like, everything's fine. There's no way that my baby is, you know, dead. There's no way. I was thinking like, it's fine. And even if something's wrong, they're going to fix it. There's no way after, you know, everything I went through that this is going to happen to me. So I'm sitting there, my husband's crying in the background. I remember actually my father drove me and he was standing outside calling my mother, like telling her that she had to come right now. And the doctor came in and he started the sonogram and I can't even explain because it's just such a scary thing. You know, throughout my pregnancy, they did a sonogram every single month and the baby didn't stop moving. On this sonogram, it was like a picture. It was like she was just floating in air. And I remember thinking, like, this is nothing. It's fine. I'm like, she is fine. There's no way that there's something wrong. My husband starts bawling, and I'm still like, everything's fine. And my doctor's like, there's the heart. And it was just not moving. And I still was like, everything is fine. Nothing is wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember the doctor, he's a family friend of mine. So it was whatever. It was, he didn't even tell me what was wrong. I was just still, I think, in shock. And he went outside and told my mother. And I remember hearing my mother scream. And I think that's when I was like, something was wrong. That's when I said, that's when I knew that it was over. And my mother came in and she told me, she said you're about to go through, a lot. But the doctor said that you will deliver, it'll be quick and easy and painless. It was not. It was not quick. It was not easy, and it was not painless. I went through 24 hours of labor. My epidural did not work properly the whole time, and I was in and out of sleep until finally, I also was very strong throughout this process because I knew I had to deliver a baby, and me kicking and screaming wasn't going to change anything. So 24 hours later, I delivered a baby that was asleep. And the nurses, the whole time the nurses kept asking me, do you want to hold the baby? Are you going to want to hold the baby? And I remember, like, I didn't know what to do. Nobody had spoken about this before. I had no idea what the best thing was to do. And I just kept saying, I just don't want to regret not holding the baby. I don't want to regret not holding her. And everybody was afraid of me holding her because they thought either she was going to come out disformed or like something. They thought it would be a traumatic experience for me. But I ended up holding my daughter, and I can't stress this enough. If I didn't hold her, I think I would, I don't even know how it would be. It would be like the most.
Meaning what you're saying is that you needed to hold her in your hands to be able to have that closure.
Yes.
Yeah, was that important for you?
Sure. Yes.
Now I want to ask you a question. You're sharing something so personal. Like, this is huge. You're sharing details about that night, which was a night that changed your life. Why is it important for you to share all of that with all the people that are listening to this live?
A few reasons. One, it can't be that I'm the only one that has been through IVF and infertility and had a stillbirth. It does feel this way, but it can't be that I'm the only one. There's for sure someone else that I can help. And I think that I can help everybody in between. Anybody who's been infertile, anybody who's been through this, anybody who's had a miscarriage, anybody who's been in somewhat of this position.
Listen, you and I have spoken about the fact that we all go through challenges in life for a reason. And since the beginning, I said there will be one day where you will use your story to change other people's lives. Okay? Why now? And not 6 months ago, 5 months ago. What changed?
I think acceptance.
Yes.
Acceptance, and that whole, people pushed me to do it. People were asking me to share my story, and I was afraid, but I wasn't. I always wanted to do it. I always said I'm going to share my story one day, and I figured now was the time.
And I know that you and I spoke many times in our sessions about the fact that not being able to speak about this made you feel so lonely, so isolated, so like you couldn't be yourself. It's like you needed to pretend to be somebody you were not. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, should I talk about people not being sensitive? Or?
Maybe we can talk about how it's important for people to understand how to talk to somebody who's going through that, because it's uncomfortable for people. People do not know what to say. I'm so sorry for your loss. People do not know what to say. And many people, remember that book that I gave you, the Plan B?
Option B.
Option B, I'm sorry. Option B by Sheryl Sandberg, which she's unbelievable. And there was one part that
there was one thing that she said that really struck a chord. She said that nobody was asking her about like, oh, sorry, I should explain.
Yes.
Her husband died. And
they were on vacation.
Yeah,
she was having dinner or lunch. He went to work out. An hour later, she's like, oh my God, where is he? He's not coming back. He's not coming back. And he had passed away at the gym.
Yeah. It's a complete horror story. But everybody, as soon as, you know, Shiva was over, everybody started treating her like nothing happened. And they start, me too.
Mm-hmm.
Reading what she said. Mm-hmm. So I lost my train of thought.
Option B, that she was talking about after the Shiva,
nobody was asking her questions, and she started to ask people. Like, her friend had just gone through a divorce, and she went over to him and said, how are you doing? Like, what's going on? These are questions that I think people are afraid to ask. People are afraid to ask me and be like, how are you feeling? Do you miss your baby? Do you feel empty? Do you feel like, I don't know, is Yontif hard for you, being around family and friends and everyone's so happy all the time? So people kind of like just pretend like nothing is wrong.
Which made you feel how?
It made me feel even more isolated. It was I think more difficult. I felt like I just had a baby and people are looking at me like I'm fat. You know,
okay.
Like,
yeah,
what's
it's valid.
going on?
It's valid.
Like,
yeah.
You know, and people would just pretend like nothing happened. And
so when you were going to talk a little bit before about people not being so sensitive, it's not, I don't think that people do it in like purposefully, but it's important to educate people on understand how to talk to somebody who had just lost a baby, who's going through all these challenges, that it's okay to say, hey, is there anything I can do for you? How are you holding on?
Yeah.
I don't know. What else would you have wanted people to tell you?
I don't even know, because sometimes, like, to be honest, people would say things and it was the right thing to say and it would irritate me.
That's also true.
There was no right thing to say at the time. I wasn't rational. I think I just wanted to feel like people were there for me and that I wasn't alone and that talking about this wasn't scary. I'll still bring it up and people will be like, you know, I'll be like, yeah, when I was pregnant, whatever. And they're like, you're talking about this. You were pregnant. Oh my God, what's going on? And I'm like, let's just talk about this.
Yeah,
let's make this normal.
Exactly. And I think I think normalcy is a big part of what we're doing today. Let's make this normal. Let's talk about this. Let's address these challenges. Let's address what comes with it. Let's ask, hey, my friend lost a baby. I do not know how to help her. What can I do? And we'll guide you. We'll give you a hand, or ask somebody else that has gone through it. Or you can go ahead and ask, hey, I know you lost your baby a few months ago. I want to be part of this process. I do not know how.
Yeah.
And just saying, hey, I don't know how, it's okay. Because then you'll tell them, hey, please cook for me. Or hey, can you just be here for me?
I think just being honest about it and saying like, I don't know what to do for you, but I'm here for you, and tell me what to do is really helpful. It makes me, because for me, asking for help is very difficult. But when you put the balls in my court and you ask, hey, I would love to do something for you. When would be a good time to either come over or, you know, I cook you dinner, I don't know, anything. I can decide whether or not that's something that I want.
But what's important, it's okay not to know how to approach somebody who went through this challenge. But it's okay to ask. Every question is valid, and that person will appreciate it more because they will feel as if you really care.
I remember the week after I gave birth, somebody came and she brought me like, it was actually very sweet. She brought me like slippers and a sweater, blanket, because, you know, I wasn't leaving the house, and it was just such a nice gift. She also got me a candle. People got me candles and diffusers and just random things, like, I guess, make me feel not as crappy.
Okay, that's a good gesture.
It helped. It was nice. Yeah. It was very nice.
I want to go back 1 second to, so you went through a year and a half of trying, then you tried IUI, it didn't work, then you tried IVF, it worked, you lost a baby, but throughout that whole time, you never thought about asking for help.
I remember thinking though, the second the night before I found out that my IVF was a success, I said to my husband Shivy, I said to him, if this doesn't work, I'm going to go to therapy. Like, this is something that's going to happen. But it worked, and I thought I was normal, but I wasn't, because my whole pregnancy I pretended like I wasn't pregnant. So,
and
I wish that this was such a, you know, a subject that people spoke about, so that, you know, like now I'm speaking about it. I'm saying that therapy is normal. Therapy is amazing. She's awesome. You know, like nobody speaks about these things. Everyone pretends like if you're going to therapy, there is something wrong with you. But there's something wrong with everybody. Like we could all use some help.
Yeah, and I always say that being able to talk to somebody who's not your husband, nor your parents, or your sisters, or your siblings, and can give you another perspective in life. I always say it's like two different types of glasses, or you know, you can see life through this lens, or you can see life through that lens. But sometimes when we don't talk to somebody who's neutral, we don't get to see that perspective. And you know what, sometimes it's even you know, and it happened to you that you just want to vent. It's not even about IVF or this. I just want to come in and vent and talk without feeling judged in a safe environment where everything you say is valid. Because sometimes we need to have a space where we can just talk about whatever we want and feel, even if it's something that's very negative, or I don't know, it's just being able to talk.
There's I think everybody needs this space.
Everybody needs this space. Exactly.
It's so important.
So
how did I find you?
Yes, exactly.
The day after I gave birth, I remember I was very lucky. My aunt called up my mother and told her, you know, I have this therapist. She specializes in fertility and, you know, loss. And I said, whatever, just set up an appointment. Let's just go.
Do you remember the first appointment?
Yes, I showed up in pajamas, which I do all the time. I remember I showed up with shimmy and slippers and like a snood and pajamas. And I remember just like, I was so unemotional. Do you remember? I was so like not there. I was just like, so I did IVF. I gave birth to a dead baby and here I am. What's wrong with me?
Do you remember what created, because I always also say that going to therapy and finding a therapy is like a relationship.
Yes.
That has to have chemistry. You have to feel so comfortable.
I know not everybody gets lucky.
That's true. But I want you to keep this in mind, that if you don't get lucky on the first one, try to look for, because there is a therapist that you will find that connection with, and it's extremely important, because if you don't feel connection, you don't feel safe, you don't feel you can trust her, so you can open up and share your darkest secrets, therapy will not work. So we have an amazing connection. We develop a beautiful relationship. And hold on one second. One of my kids was about to come in. So yes, so don't give up if you don't find that right person the like right away. Know that this is
how, like in our society, I think talking about even going to a therapist is a scary thing to bring up. Like, who do you ask? If none of your friends ever mentioned to you that they go to therapy, you know, how do you even find a therapist? Like, how would you find a therapist?
So there is an amazing website called Psychology Today. And what I love about that, it's like a Facebook, but for therapists. Cool. Everything is there. You have pictures, you have information about their background, where they work, what their licenses are. Everything is verified. It's legit, 100%. So you can find a therapist around your area. Also, if you live in, let's say, South Florida, you can text me, and I can, if you don't want to come to me, I can help you find somebody else that's around your area, and try until you find that right person, because it's important to have somebody you can lean on for those processes. And this was like, hold on, I want to tell you exactly when did we do this, because I want to make sure I have the right, I don't remember if it was a year or two ago. I was working with a lot of couples going through infertility, but I realized that many of them would go and pay for their IVF treatments, but did not have enough money for emotional support. But not having that emotional support was having repercussions and consequences on their treatments and their marriages. So I would get the couples who went through 1, 2, 3, 4 IVFs, and then their marriages were destroyed. Their bodies were destroyed, their minds were destroyed, because it's a lot on your body, it's a lot on your relationship, it's a lot on everything. So me and a very brave woman who I love, her name is Sophia Michan, and she actually has a foundation called At 3 Under 2, which I will type it on the little thing after we're done, and she helps couples pay for their IVF treatments. She really is amazing. She had to go through IVF treatments to be able to get pregnant with all her babies. And we developed this guide. I'm gonna show you right here.
This is the coolest book ever, by the way. They created a book. Wait, you gotta show it to this camera. Sorry, we have two cameras, just letting you know. We are recording on another camera so that you guys, anybody who misses this live, can watch it later. So I just gotta show them here. It's called Who the Fuck Am I?
Going through, it's called Dealing with the Emotionally Demanding Road of IVF. And these,
that's the second
here,
title.
If my goal, like actually our goal, me and Sophia's goal was to be able to get each couple that's about to start an IVF treatment their copy of this book, which is only $18 and $1 goes to her foundation. It is on Amazon. But what we wanted is for clinics to give this away for free when you were paying for your IVF treatment. We're in 2 clinics in New York, REM or RAM. I don't remember the name of it. I'm so sorry. It was like 2 years ago. I don't remember. Okay, I can get you the details. But that was our goal. But this guide is on Amazon. If you don't have either the time or you're about to start an IVF treatment, get the guide because it gives you so much information about the emotional component of what IVF is.
Which everyone forgets to tell you.
Yeah, exactly. I've actually had many meetings with doctors where I said, please, is there any way that you can push more for that emotional support? Because I think that one of the things that you and I have had to deal also for a while is how to talk to my partner when I feel afraid, because men have this feeling or need or that they are responsible for your feelings.
Yes.
So remember that? Yes. So, oh my God, I'm so afraid this is never going to happen. So we'll try another thing and we'll try this and we'll try that and we'll try that. When what we really want is for them to say, come, I love you. We'll go through this together. I'm here for you. And we need to teach them how to speak and how to communicate so we can get our message across, because there's so many emotions that are involved in this process that you forget about that. It's challenging. Yeah. So what else? Should we want to address the questions that we got from people?
Yes, we got a bunch of questions.
Okay. So let's see which ones have we dealt with. Okay, so this one is a huge one, which is, why me? Why is this happening to me? And I think that, 95% of the couples that I work with come and say, why me? We are good people. We are healthy. We eat well. We are kind. Why are we going through this? And I think that's a very, very, very hard question to answer. What do you think about that? Did you ask yourself that?
Yeah, but I wish we had somebody to answer those questions, but we don't.
Yeah, and it's a question that I'm sure many of you ask yourselves, but maybe it's not why me, it's what do I need to learn from this? Yes. That will make me grow at some point, which it's hard to see that while you're going through it. And you and I have spoken about that.
Don't fully see that. I'm still going through it, so I don't, there's no people are always like, your baby wasn't supposed to be here. She's just not meant to be here. I'm like, that's so nice. That's so nice. So yours is supposed to be a mine isn't. That's great. You're so helpful.
I would like to ask you a question, and please answer maybe with an emoji or a heart or whatever. How many of you have had emotional support throughout your infertility journey?
Well, or any journey.
Or any journey. Exactly. Thank you for the heart. Are those the hearts?
Yeah, I don't know if that's one person or a bunch of people, but
okay. So we see some hearts,
enough.
But not enough. Exactly. I see that, and it's hard. Another question that I got. Thank you guys for sending those hearts and those emojis. Yes. That's amazing. Thank you. It means that you have had emotional support, and hopefully that has helped you throughout this journey. If any of you would want to share or tell us something about your journey with emotional support throughout any of those journeys, please let us know. Beginning but nothing. You can contact me. You can contact me for references.
I love her. She's an
oh my God, please.
I drive to Aventura once a week, sometimes twice a week. Sometimes I go once and then again with my husband, and then he goes separately. And it's very necessary.
And also, for adoption and foster care, also you can contact me and I can guide you as well, no problem. Because that's also another process that you have to go through. But that's amazing, because that means that there are other options, not only a few options. Thank you for that. One question that somebody sent. It says, I am ready for IVF, but my husband is not.
I think that if you're ready and your husband isn't, you have to speak to somebody to find out, all the details. Maybe have somebody talk to him about it so that he can understand what to expect and everything about it. I don't know. I think get him to know what it's like, because it sounds scarier than it is.
It does, but IVF has a very interesting impact on men because it deals directly with their masculinity. Did I pronounce it right?
But that's only if it's male factor.
No.
Yeah.
No. Emotionally.
No matter what, even
no
if
matter what, because it's like for the female, I cannot give you a child. For the men, is like, I cannot give you what you need. So it has a very big emotional component on men, which makes them feel ashamed and weak. And hold on, we have a question. I had the most amazing therapist to help me get through my dangerous pregnancies. And when I was told I couldn't have any more, thank you so much for sharing that and for supporting the fact that asking for help, it's very important. And I'm so happy you were able to find an amazing therapist. There are many, many, many good ones out there.
Can I just recommend you talking about it to other people so that they know and so that they maybe can ask you who you spoke to. Maybe you can direct them. We have to make this like a common thing. This has to be like going to get a manicure. You have your amazing manicure, so you have your amazing therapist. I know that's like opposite.
I know. How are your nails? Let me see your nails. Okay. So exactly it. So please, let's just we should create actually a hashtag.
Yeah.
We should create something that can create a movement for people to really get going and asking for help. Because do you work in the Aventura area? Yes, I do. Doing so much for people by having this.
Thanks.
That's exactly what we want. We wanted to take some time from our day to be able to connect with all of you. And I just remembered something you and I spoke about a lot, that you would say, hey, I look online for support and stories and everything, and all I find is success story.
Yeah, that's another reason why I wanted to share my story. Everyone always tells everyone. A lot of people have told me, hey, I have this friend, she did IVF 6 times and then she got pregnant. I have this other friend who did IVF and then, she was on vacation and she got pregnant naturally. And for me, that was so frustrating because I always thought, I'm still here. This doesn't help me. I don't want to speak to somebody who's had the success. It's just the truth. I just don't. I never felt that connection. I've tried it with people. I also had a difficult time speaking to people who, had a stillbirth because 5 seconds later they got pregnant. So they have no idea what this is like. They know half of my horror story.
And I think that why you wanted this also is for you to give a voice to those that don't have that voice.
Yes.
Okay? Which is amazing. Okay, this was a huge one. I am so afraid of what others think of me and of the fact that I can get pregnant. Do you remember that? Do you remember that feeling?
I honestly never had that fear.
Okay.
Because I don't know why. I did hate it the way people treated me, like I was different or like I was less than them because I didn't have, children, or, I'd sit with a group of people and all they could talk about was their kids' clothing and changing diapers and this and that. And I remember being like, do you have anything else to talk about? It is very hard. I don't even, it's so hard to care about what other people think of you. It's a horrible situation to be in. It really is. I sometimes feel this way too. I'm not going to lie. I'll be surrounded by people and I'll be like, oh my God, she's looking at me funny. If that means that she knows my story or,
it's hard. It's hard. Because I don't think that everybody consciously judges other people's actions, but sometimes those questions of, hey, so when are you getting pregnant? Or the girl who's single and really is trying to date very badly and find her partner and is trying, and when are you don't you want to get married? I want to have children. I want to get pregnant, but I can't. So those questions can make you feel so uncomfortable. so uncomfortable. So I think that's one of also the things that we need to be mindful of, the comments that we make or the things that we ask, or how do we establish conversations.
Someone once asked me while I was doing IVF if I was pregnant. Now, when you do IVF, the shots make you extremely bloated. And I looked like I was 6 months pregnant. I did. And that to me was probably like the most painful question of all time, because this was, I think, my second round of IVF.
Yeah.
I just was like, are you kidding me? Like, why? Don't ask these questions. Don't ask these questions. Don't let anybody ask such a question.
And I think that we can, and I also tell Adessa a lot, what can we do to educate others? Yes, to give them the words so they can know what to say or how to ask. Sometimes starting a conversation with, hey, I haven't seen you in so long, so you don't want to have babies? No, why don't we say something else? You know, we women have,
or not even that.
Yeah.
A lot of times people will ask, how many kids do you have, or do you have kids? That needs to change. That needs I get asked on a daily basis, and that needs to change, because you're literally like stabbing me in the heart every single time. Me and I've gotten used to this, but
somebody's asking me about my address. I will send the address in a little bit. Thank you for the beautiful comments they're sending me. Like, you're so strong, you're this. Like, she really is. This is amazing.
And yes, we are saving the live, so you can watch it later.
One other question was, how to combat loneliness during the infertility journey. Why do we keep it a secret? Why don't we talk about it? What's your thought about this?
I don't know. I don't know why people don't talk about it. I feel like this is a medical issue. It's not, it's nobody's fault. It's a medical issue. And it's something that we should talk about. I don't know.
So one of the main reasons why people hide this is because they feel ashamed. But shaming, it has nothing to do with your process. However, that is what you feel. But there's nothing to be ashamed of. Infertility does not define who you are. I'm sorry for this. You are amazing. You are a fighter. You are smart. You're beautiful. You're a hard worker. But you're going through infertility. So what we need to do is just fight infertility. Oh my God, I can't. My Spanish is like, what? It's too late. So what I want you to think about when you feel that lonely is, what part of this whole process is making me feel so isolated? And one of the parts that I feel it makes you is the fact that you don't feel comfortable using your voice and being yourself. And I think that's why we're here too, because a big part of this whole process has been that you felt so isolated because you were not able to say what you were going through. Was it, but I don't know if it was shame.
I still feel isolated. I still feel isolated.
True.
Unfortunately, that's just the way society is. I still feel isolated. There's also no one like me. And I think I had to accept that I'm not really necessarily going to find someone who's been through all that I've been through. So I think that's what's so isolating.
I remember one of the stories of my co-author of that book, Sofia Silverman from A 302. And she shared that she was going through her second IVF or her first IVF, I don't remember. And she was invited to a baby shower. And she went to the baby shower and all she could do was look around her and say, oh my God, all these showers and all these gifts, and when is it gonna be the moment that I'll be able to be part of this? And it was devastating for her. We actually have one of the exercises on the book is actually about that. And it was devastating for her because she felt so lonely and she couldn't tell nobody knew she was going through that. So people were wondering, why were you not pregnant? When is your turn? It's so challenging. It really is. It really is.
And that is just, I think that people also feel a lot of pressure to attend things that make them feel uncomfortable. For me, I do not really attend baby parties. It's very rare for you to see me at a baby event. Like, I try because, they're my friends and I care about them, family, whatever it is, but it is extremely challenging to be at a bris or a baby shower or anything and look around you and feel like you are the only person that does not have kids.
It's
I think that you have to know what you can handle, and if you can't handle it, it's okay.
Look, I love her comment, or when people say, or when you're having one child, when you're having when are you having the next one? Yes,
I hear that all the time.
All the time. And there's something called secondary infertility.
They say that's more common.
It is extremely common. I remember working with a couple who they would come to me and tell me, people are telling us, how come we don't want to give a sibling to our child? Like, what type of parents are we that we are not working on giving a sibling to this child? Shame, blame, please, all away. Respect people's processes. Yes, it is no one's business. It is. And it's interesting because...
And the more people ask these questions, the more those of us going through infertility don't want to speak about it. You know,
it's very intense. I wanted to talk about one of the exercises of the book. I wrote it down. Hold on. It's exercise number 15. This is a 30-day guide. So, hold on. No, that's not the one I want to talk to you about. Okay, here. Okay. So, a big part of this whole process is finding somebody who can understand what you're going through, who can listen to what you're experiencing without having to solve it. Because people feel that they have that responsibility because they don't know what else to say. For example,
my IVF failed.
Exactly.
I went over to, I don't want to say
you should try this. You should be more positive.
They didn't even care that it failed. It was like, it's not a big deal. You could just do it again. It is
dismissing what you're feeling, which what we really need when we're going through those moments is, I am here for you. I care. And the only thing you need to say is, what can I do to help? Nothing else. Let the other person decide how do they want to accept that help. Because, hey, we know that you won't be able to solve that challenge. You won't be able to either get her pregnant or do a better IVF or change the way she thinks. It's not about that. It's about having the ability to listen, having the ability to be there for somebody else, having the ability to say, I am here for you, I care. So I wrote 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Me and Sophia wrote like 9 examples of things you can say to your partner or to the people that is around you that you can explain yourself what you really need without being so angry. So I'm gonna read some.
Post this picture.
We should post. We'll post it later. So for example, one would be, I want you to hug me and listen to me. Don't try to solve everything. Let's accept these changes together. Let's see what somebody wrote. All these comments come from a place of ignorance. It's incredibly hurtful, but I've tried to remind myself during those times that they actually don't know what to say. You're right.
My aunt always says, they mean well, but they're stupid. That's what she really
Your
says.
aunt is a very wise woman.
One.
But thank you so much for that comment, because you're absolutely right. It's exactly it. But I think that going through these challenges and being aware of what is going on, it's our job also to help others have those words and have another way to relate to other people, and not by doing it in a way where they
Yes,
Miriam. Yes. That's your cousin? Okay. Hi, cousin. But we have, I think, I don't know if a job or responsibility to explain to people how can they do this better. There is a better way. There is a better way. Just ask, hey.
The live is about to end in 7 seconds.
Oh my God.
We'll restart one for like 5 more minutes, I think.
Okay, we can do that. Okay. So what do we do now?
Okay, hold on.
She's amazing.
She's incredible.
Oh my God.
Share to story. Okay, and now let's start another one.
Exactly. 1 second. Back again? Yeah? Are we live?
But people are not on yet.
Oh, we're alone?
We're alone.
Hi.
Oh,
they're coming back. Okay, awesome.
Okay.
So we'll finish the last 5 minutes. Okay. Another one would be
how to talk to your partner.
Or how to say what you really want to say without coming like without being, because you're so angry, you're so frustrated, you're so afraid, that all of those emotions can change the way you communicate your message. Another one would be, I want to be able to say how I feel without judgment. What does that mean? That I want to be able to say, hey, today I'm afraid. I have no hope. I don't know how to wake up tomorrow and be strong to continue my fight. And for others to say, it's okay. It's okay to feel like that. I'm here for you. Don't even worry about it.
Yes. One thing that I was very negative. There was a point where I was very negative. I was on hormones. I had been through a lot. I wasn't so hopeful. And so many people kept saying, you're so negative. Stop being so negative. And that only made me more negative.
Yeah.
It didn't give me the space to vent that I needed. So this is good.
And what you said also, it's very important because it took you a whole 8 months to be able to start understanding how to feel, how to cope with what you're going through, how to continue living, how to reestablish and reconstruct your life.
I lost my baby, I think 11 months ago. And I'm just starting now to get back to normal.
And people would say, when is she getting better? When are we doing this? When are we? No, we can't rush the process. Exactly. This is happening
for a reason.
When will she
be able to look at babies again? I don't know.
You had?
I have.
Literally,
I just want you to all know, I just started looking at babies again this week. Actually acknowledging their existence.
And how did it feel?
It was very scary, but so freeing. I was holding myself back from something because I thought it was going to be the scariest thing, the end all. It was just, and it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be.
I know.
I'm evil. She was so excited.
It was like the best day ever. Okay, I'm going to read another one. Please understand that you're not the problem. If I'm irritated, it's not because of you. It's my body going through a difficult moment. Don't take it personal.
Yes.
Okay, that's a big one.
Yes, we're always screaming I'm screaming at my husband when I'm going through this. Anytime I did IVF, I was like, out of nowhere, I'd just start screaming for no reason.
And we would ask
he
your
would
husband.
Take it personally, like the poor thing. It's not his fault. I'm just on medication.
And let's say, and a big part of what we worked on was explaining and allowing her husband to express how scared he was of the process because of how hormones change.
We have to talk about how important it is for him to see.
Yes, it's very, very, very important, 100%, because it allowed him to vent and talk about his fears and realize that, hey, it's temporary and this is how you should deal with it, and those are the things that you should ignore, and this is how you need to talk, and there is a guide and there is a way, and we can make it better. This one is interesting. Don't joke about hormones. It's not funny. And don't even think about telling me I am hormonal. Even though I might be. Because you are. But if you tell me, if I'm really hormonal.
Only I could say I'm hormonal.
Yeah.
You can't say I'm hormonal.
This is another one. If I have hot flashes, pimples, nausea, bloating, headaches, and I complain, take my word for it. I am not making these symptoms up. Acknowledge what I feel and try to put yourself in my shoes. Help me feel a little better by supporting me, which happens a lot.
All the time. I did IVF, 3 times in a row. So after a while, people start getting sick of hearing, like, oh, I feel so gross. I don't feel good. I have a headache. I'm nauseous. Like, I don't, they start thinking, maybe he did, I don't know. They start thinking that you're making things up, but it's real.
Not.
These are real feelings.
Yeah. This one is a very powerful one, and one of my favorite, and I think that it's one of the hardest sentences to say, which is, don't let go of me. These feelings come and go, but I am still me, even though you might not see it now.
Yes.
How does that one make you feel? It's so powerful. I think that one is just so powerful. Another one would be, I'm afraid our relationship will change and we'll distance ourselves because of what we're going through. That is something not many couples are able to say to each other. So they keep that inside, but it's a very valid fear. What happens if we distance each other? What happens if we don't talk? We can be intimate that much. How do we find that connection? So talking about it, it's me and my husband, and I don't know if I tell you this or not, I don't remember, in one of our sessions, that we play a game where we allow each other for 15 minutes to say what we truly feel. with no filter. We said, like, you have 15 minutes
Called
to
the
say.
worst case scenario.
Yeah.
I'm forgetting to say that now.
Yeah, the worst case scenario for 15 minutes. Everything that's really, all those negative thoughts that are in your head, like meaning you're gonna leave me, you don't love me, I look this, I look like that, our kids are gonna fail, I'm never gonna have kids, I'm this, and that. For 15 minutes. And then we shut it down and then we move forward. Because we need to allow ourselves to be able to say what we feel without hurting each other, though. When you ask me how I feel, do it sincerely. Listen to me and show me you are truly interested. Because when they say, hey, how you feel today? Oh my God, I'm so bloated. I'm not. Okay, fine. What's for dinner? No, not that way.
Mm-mm.
So we need to teach them because they're also struggling with how to connect or relate to you when you're going through this process. So, so we need to teach them and give them tools. But that was one of my favorite exercises. Okay, so how do we wrap this up?
You can DM either of us, and we're here to help in whichever way we can.
Mm-hmm.
I can give you any tips or anything regarding IVF, anything. And Yael can help you with any emotional support. She will be posting. We'll both be posting the website. What's the website called again? To find therapists.
Psychology Today.
Psychology Today. I will be posting that in my story, and she will also. Mm-hmm. And she's going to post this list that we just spoke about. Mm-hmm. Yeah, if there's anything else, please feel free to reach out.
Anything. We are here to help and to guide you. If you want to help us spread our message, which is it's okay not to be okay, and it's okay to ask for help. Please ask for help. Please let us know. And I don't know, well, let's come up with something. I don't know, maybe we can come up with a campaign or something that can help others wake up and find help. Okay?
Yes.
And remember that we're here for you. Thank you for being so brave and sharing your story.
Thank you.
We have a long way to go.
Thank you for joining me.
I'm so excited.
Maybe we'll do this again. We'll see.
If you want us to do this again, just let us know.
Yes.
If you have any other questions, let us know. If you want to talk about any other topics, let us also know too. We're here for you. This was incredible. Yeah. We can do this every month. No problem. We can do kind of like
new topics.
Yeah, just send the topics. We'll do them. No problem. Thank you so much, everybody. Have a beautiful night.
Great night and a beautiful holiday. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Bye.